All right. Hello, everyone. Sean here at BlueRidgeSilverhound. Hope everyone's doing well and that you are collecting, enjoying the hobby that we all know and love. And that's coins and currency, numismatics. Well, it was only a matter of time. And before this question came up, and it's come up quite a few times last year. All right. I think everyone's love affair with the American women quarters is justified. I'm like, yeah, it's a good looking series. Great way to kind of follow up, a decades long national park quarter series that got pretty old pretty fast. Glad to know that this is a much shorter series that goes all the way up to 2025. Um, because we have a new special quarter coming out in 2026. But with this love affair for the series comes the question: should I grade these in the hopes of gaining the highest grade possible? Because obviously, a lot of the folks they have listened to a few of my videos in the past about grading and registries and all that stuff. And the people that pay a lot of money for even some of the newest coins that grade out at the top grade is a pretty wide pool, folks. Uh, I would say Washington Quarter registry sets are probably top three. Um, Lincoln Cents and Jefferson Nichols, I firmly believe, to take the first two slots by a pretty big margin, but quarters have had quite a bit of a following. And with the state quarter series, the national park series, and of course this brand new one, brand new in the sense that it's new, less than a year old or about a year old, have certainly put a little bit more attention on quarters than they've ever had. So the real question is, should I grade these? Is it budget friendly? Is it feasible to make money by sending these coins off to PCGS or NGC, trying to get the top grade and go from there? We're going to address all that. We're going to take a look also at the secondary market because, sure, this is a relatively new series, but surprisingly, there is quite a bit of market data that we could pull to show you guys if and only if it's worth grading these things. Now, of course, we got to talk a little bit about some of the finer details. Okay, there's 5 designs. The one that you see right here from the US Mid website. This is the first one. This is the innovator, the one that cracked the code of whether or not this was going to be a fan favorite series, and sure enough, it is. People have had their positive and their negative things to say. Nobody really, there are people that hate the obverse design. There are people that firmly believe, oh, women shouldn't be on quarters. Well, that's hogwash. We all know that. Unless you've been living in a cave lately, this certainly commands its own subject, for any sort of coin program, and it's justifiably so. So, 5 designs: Maya Angelou, Sally Ride, Wilma Mankiller, Nina Otero Warren, and of course, Anime Wong. All 5 designs. Okay, we have had a full year's worth of release of this series, and it's done really well. So we're going to take a look at the pop reports as well on PCGS's website. So that way you guys know that, how many of these are being sent to the graders. And then, also in there as well, we're going to talk about what you would need to do. And I am not at all condoning this practice because I've tried doing this very thing myself and have barely broken even. All right, but that's my experience, and it's not me to decide for you if you want to go out and purchase BU rolls of these quarters, cherry through them for the highest graded specimens, and sending them off to PCGS. Okay, that's your own guys' stuff. But, at least all the intangibles before you go diving into this, which so many people have done and have lost out big. All right, so we know the 5 designs. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what's at stake. Okay, what do you ultimately have to do to have the best shot at obtaining the highest grade possible for these quarters? Okay, the number one thing that you do not do is you send off just one coin. The registry set game, on the grading side of it, if you're that type of person that does that sort of thing, do you call them collectors or you just call them opportunists? I don't know, but there's definitely some opportunity out there. You always send these out to PCGS in quantity. All right. The idea is for every, say, 10 or 20 of these that you send out, hopefully at least one of them will come back at the highest grade level. All right, so this is where you're going to have to be a stickler for details. What does the coin exhibit? Does it exhibit a sharp strike? Does it have any sort of damage or bag mark or anything to that effect that detracts from the overall look of the coin? You have to be very discerning in the sense that when you look at a coin like this Maya Angelou right here, if there is one distracting nick, say in the field where it's nice and clear and easy to see, that's even without a magnifier. And by the way, if you are not looking at these coins with the magnifier as you're auditing the rolls, you're not going to be successful. That's a tool that you absolutely need to master if you're going to get into grading at all, whether it's high-end, modern registry level type coins or going out there and grading out some of the older stuff, stuff that maybe you found at a coin show or something to that effect. You have to master it using a magnifier. And the big reason why is a lot of the things that the graders see, you may not necessarily see because maybe you missed a tiny little mark that's in this textured area of the bird, which is, in a way can be something that's easy to miss because of the texturing. All right, but you would see that if you use a magnifier to get into the closer details. Like these rays right here. These rays look stunning the way they are, but what if you had one nick that is very easy to see with a magnifier on one of those rays? Do you think that coin is deserved of the highest grade level? Probably not. You have to begin to be more critical minded when you get into grading these hyper modern coins than say if you were going to grade something that's 200 years old. All right, it's a night and day difference. We're talking apples and oranges here. So be a lot more harder and stricter on yourself when you do this. If you can't do that and you're willing to give yourself a little bit of like leeway or a free pass for like little inconsistencies on the strike quality of a coin, or maybe that one tiny little nick that's on the letter A of America that, to me, I think is harmless enough that it's not going to do anything to the grade. This is something you cannot be a part of because it's going to end up downing you financially. The coins, sure, we're grading coins, so there's some guaranteed value there, regardless of what the coin grades out at. But when it gets to a point where these coins grade out 2-3 grade levels lower than what the highest grade level is, you have wasted all of your submission money to PCGS by grading a coin that to them and to a lot of other people is going to be very subpar. All right, so make sure that you're being a lot more strict in your grading standards, the same way that PCGS or NGC would do as well. So with that being said, understanding that you guys send these out in quantity, send out 10, 20, 30 of them at a time. I know it seems crazy because even if you're able to get a bulk submission deal where it's like down to $10 per coin, that's still $300 for 30 coins. And you also have to think, good gracious, I'm sending out 30 2022 quarters. So you have to think about that. This is coins that are currently out in circulation today that may or may not be no better than what you could find in pocket change today. You have to think about that. You're sending out brand new coins. You're sending out 30 of them. You're spending over $300 in your submission. You have to really let it hit home and understand that you cannot absolutely fail at this, because if all these coins end up coming back mint state 65 or even 66, you will not recoup your grading submission fees. Okay, that's going to be a hard one to swallow, guys. You're gonna lose some battles before you win some, and that's part of being a part of grading these high-end ultra modern coins, is that you're gonna have a lot of losers compared to that one gem in the rough. And it may come 1 in 100, it might come in 1 in 200 coins that you submit. All right, but the idea is that you're gonna have the one coin that will hopefully and ultimately pay for the entire submission of what you had sent to PCGS. All right, so to gain an idea of some of the coins that are being graded, PCGS obviously has a population report. Use it. All right, but as you can see, yeah, people are grading these things. There's a lot of them out there in PCGS plastic. Take, for example, the P minted Maya Angelou at over 6,800 total quarters that was graded by PCGS bearing the P mint mark. And then here's your breakdown. There's a couple people that sent these things off that came back mint state 62. And that is the absolute thing you want to avoid, is for just a regular pocket change piece to come back in a mint state 62. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to crack that coin out of that holder, and you're going to have to put it back in the piggy bank because it's only worth a quarter. All right, even if it was a mint state 62, you'd be lucky to get $5 for it in its holder. But you can see a good bulk of it grades between 64 and 66. And I guarantee you that even in the highest grade at 66 here, you'd be lucky to get back $15 for the coin. All right, because there's no perceived safety net when you're grading out these ultra modern coins. It's either you get the top dog grade or you fall off a cliff. All right, you lose your footing. Well, if you're not getting a mint state 67 in that Maya Angelou, you're going to lose your footing. You're going to fall down the mountain. Okay, because that coin will be worthless. It's not going to be worth what you had paid for the submission fees. So 113 pieces in a 67 is indeed the highest grade for the P mint Maya Angelou. If we look at the Denver, there are actually mint state 68s. There are 8 of them in that grade level, and there's even some of the S mint ones that you could only find in the US Mint sourced rolls. That's the only place where you get them. The mintages are right around 300,000. They're very low, but as you can see, it doesn't stop people from submitting that coin to PCGS, because if it came back, take a look at this. This is quite interesting, because in the highest grade, it's 67, none higher, 523 pieces in a 67. And then here's Sally Rides. You can see there's even one mid state 68 of that quarter. That coin has to be expensive, right? Well, we're going to find out. Maybe it's sold on eBay here in the last 90 days. There's the S Mint Sally Ride, 6 pieces. There's also the Denver, 5 pieces and 68, because you can't really get down to 60. 67 is the point of no return, because if you got a 67, you'll barely be making any money, if anything on there. And then as we get on to the newer quarters, you'll see that the populations dwindle considerably because there's less people submitting these. But Philadelphia obviously has the toughest quality, toughest strike that you can ask for. And that's generally the case. Philadelphia minted coins aren't as clean and clean looking as the Denver mint contemporaries that come from that mint. So that's why there's no 68s in P mint Wilma Man Killers, but there's 13 of them in Denver's. And then I don't know why, but they separated Wilma Mankiller S mint coins like 3 lines down past the anime Wongs with only 5 and 68. And then when we get to Bessie Coleman, yeah, check that out. There's already a few dozen coins that have graded. In the P-Min examples, there are only 18 that have been graded in the 66 with none higher. And then the Denvers, there are 41 and 66, 2 and 67. But I think with the Denver Mints, it has to be 68 for it to be the top pop. And eventually it'll happen. All right, that coin is brand new, just came out maybe 2 weeks ago in circulation. So that's going to take some time. It's going to take probably a good solid like 8 to 12 months of continuous submissions by other people for that population to build up. All right, so we're going to see that happen. Right now, people have been finding these the last couple weeks, and they're already sending them out. And they've come back in pretty decent grades, but not the grades that discerning Washington Quarter Registry set participants are necessarily looking for. They're going to be looking for the 68s or 68 pluses. So use the population report on PCGS's website and you should do no wrong. So let's go ahead and take a look at the last 90 days of sold listings. Now, I'm in the coins section, the US coins section on eBay. All right, and it's under quarters. And I put down 2022 PCGS. And I did all sold listings during that last 3-month period, starting with the highest priced coins. And then look at this. We have a 2022 P Sally Ride Quarter PCGS Mid-State 67 Plus, almost to 68. But here's the thing. They threw Mid-State 68 in there as a keyword search because that's the grade that a lot of registry set people are looking for. But it's not a 68, all right? 67 plus is not a 68. And when it comes to dollars and cents, it's a pretty big gap between the 67 plus and the 68. So this jamoke right here that elected to use the keyword 68 did it so that way this coin would come up in the search. I don't agree with using the keywords, and that's why I call them a jamoke, because I don't like that practice, and a lot of other people don't either, because that is not a 68 coin, it's a 67 plus. So yeah, it's a practice that is it's something that a lot of people use, especially on the sports card side, and it's just something that is down and dirty, in the biz. And nobody likes it, and people have taken advantage of that when they're out selling these. But anyways, $1,149 was the sale price. They accepted a best offer of some sort. When we go into the listing, this is what it looks like, so that way you guys can see up close of what this coin looks like in its holder. Dr. Sally Ride. There's going to be some of these, I'll say, like First Strike or First Day of Issue. Personally, those are gimmicks in my personal opinion, and you shouldn't really use that as a basis of whether you should pay more for the coin. Now, that's me speaking on the the registry set side of things. If I were to do this, but there is a coin. I mean, it's a good looking coin, 67 plus, relatively clean. Something that probably came out of a bank-sourced roll. It doesn't necessarily mean it comes from the U.S. Mint in one of those rolls. That's going to be better quality. That's just simply not the case. But there you go. That's the coin that was $1,149. I guess you guys are wondering how much it sold for. $289 right there. And that can only mean one thing. If it's sold for only $289, there must be another coin that grades out higher, right? 2022 P Sally Ride. If we go back to our pop report and go to Sally Ride Philly, go all the way to the right. So there's 3 in that grade of 67 plus. Impressive. But check that out. There is indeed one coin that grades in 68. You know what that means? When that happens, that means the value of all the other coins in lower grades is going to drop at kind of like an even level, right? It's like tides. When the tide goes out, all of the water goes down, not just a portion of it. So, yeah, I mean, there you go. That's the primary reason why that coin sold for only $289 is that because there is a grade higher than that. So obviously, since there's a grade higher than that, the belief is that there's going to be more that's going to come out in the 68. The more that people are continuously submitting these to PCGS, it's bound to happen. And I could only imagine how much a mid-state 68 and a Sally Ride would value add, because it is a P-Mint. Let's not lose sight of that. P-Mint means lesser quality. But that's probably right there your $1,000 and up coin. All right. And how much that amount is above $1,000 is really up to the people that specialize and collect into those registry set type coins. So you also have to take that into consideration. You know, I've always said, and I said it earlier in the show, that you are either at the highest grade or it falls off a cliff. So it could be a coin that's worth $2,000 or $3,000 at a mid-state 68. And then, you know, 1/2 a point grade lower in a plus in the 67, you know, means it drops down to about 10% maybe, or maybe perhaps 20% of what the highest value would be in a 68. So that's what you have to take into consideration. So with that being said, in essence, you know, we are looking at coins that is brand new. And this is typical. You know, when we looked at, say, for instance, the National Park quarters or even the statehood quarters, the same coins that were being graded by PCGS back in the day, you know, they were only worth about, you know, $500 to $1,000. Okay. Registry sets were relatively new in the mid 2000s, and people were getting into it, you know, after 2010. You know, when it became a very progressive, very, very rich, high dollar type of activity that only the elite numismatics people participate in. And that's why the values of these continue to go up. But during that first 1 to 2 years of a coin's release, the coins stay at a low price level. All right. So let's say if mid-state 68 is the highest grade that we will see for the rest of the life of us or the coins for Sally Ride, that might one day, probably in about 10 years, end up being a $3,000 to $4,000 coin if the population stay low and if people are still collecting Washington quarters, which I have a feeling they are, because if we're doing kind of like these different design multi-year programs, you know, which is going to happen. You know, the next program is going to be, 5 years or 4 years? The next one after that might be 10 years again. Completionists will want them all, and they'll want them all in the highest grade. So before I let you guys go, quick little kind of thing. If you are expecting to do something like this, a few key points to talk about. Submit a lot of coins. Don't just submit one. You can't do it that way. You will never gain success by sending one coin, because you're, you know, yeah, sure, it's like playing the lottery. At least you're getting a lottery ticket, right? However, the odds of actually winning is so skim compared to, say, if you bought 10 lottery tickets or 20. Same goes with doing these coins as well. So submit more coins, submit in bulk. When you submit in bulk, you pay less per coin through the grading sites. Plus they send out these great deals every so often if you're a club member. Do your research. I want you guys that are interested in doing this to get in the habit of doing the research. Don't shortcut the details. Go online, research prices. Where do I need to be at this grade? What's the expectation? Look at the coins that grade out in a mid-state 67. This seller did a really good job with his photography. And you need to use these coins as a model for all the coins that you currently have in your possession. If your coin is not as clean and not as detailed as this one is, you should not send it in. Use this as a model for your upcoming submission. And of course, you know, the third thing is all this is not financial advice. Okay, this is highly risky proposition that can end up bearing fruit which is a very small percentage, but at the same time, you could lose a boatload of money. If you're too headstrong to do this because you don't like to lose, you're going to end up losing a lot of money, and you have to slow yourself down sometimes. You know, let's say you send out that one submission that has like 50, 60 coins, and none of them came back at the highest grade level. That's a reflection point in your process. Well, I spent $700 on this submission. Is it worth it for me to do another one? That's something you're going to have to consider. You have to look at the money versus how much you get out of it. Even if these coins are not great at the highest level, some of them are still sellable. But ultimately, it's all about the big picture of the budgeting. All right. How much am I spending? How much am I getting back in return? What is my net losses or profit? You got to look at the black and red with this. If you don't do that and you just continuously shovel shit down the throats of PCGS or NGC and you get back all these grades, then that's going to be your fault because you didn't do it right. So make sure you're doing that. But these coins are very, very attractive. They still have some heat and hotness to it. They're a very steamy series even to this point. People are still talking about this year's subjects, and people are looking to get some of those PDNS rolls from the mint. And people are spending more than what they're selling for from the US Mint Direct. So keep that in mind. But that's what I wanted to talk about. Quick little... It's either going to be a lesson for you or it's going to be a slap in the face to let you guys realize that this is one of the riskiest things that you could do, is grading these high-end ultra-modern coins in the hopes of striking it rich. Some people have tried and some people have cried. So that's it. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. I hope you guys had a pretty good experience with this video and that you got all the information you need. If not, go ahead and post them below. Ask me your questions, and let's see if we can get you on the right track with this whole thing. But that's going to do it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I shall see you guys on the next coin video. So long.